Hello, this is a video about sewing machines, specifically my sewing machines. I have a lot of them, there's more around, but these are the ones I could fit on this desk, so I want to talk about them. And mostly this is just a video for me because I've been struggling to remember certain details about my sewing machines, and I like to be able to know all of this. So, let's start and see where I can get. So, I'm actually going to start with a sewing machine that isn't here, which was my first sewing machine I used properly, which was a bright purple John Lewis sewing machine, modern sewing machine with not that many functions that I got, I think, off Facebook Marketplace. And yeah, I used it for a while for sewing. It was my second machine that I actually had, but it was the first one I actually used. This back here is the first one I actually had, but we'll get back to that. And yeah, I just wanted to mention it as part of my history. Then we have here, so I'm starting with the modern ones, even if they weren't the first ones. This I got in 2023 for my 18th birthday, and it is the one I use the most often, as it is a modern machine. It is a Singer machine, as you can see, and it is the Featherweight C240. It's got this case with a hole at the back for a handle, so I can carry it around easily, even if it's in its case. And I sort of kept the packaging just because I want to make sure I can keep this safe when I'm moving about, because I move around a lot at the moment. So, let's talk a bit about this machine. As you can see, it's got a pedal, like all modern machines essentially. And I actually bought it in Poland because it was cheaper. And as you can see, it's got a Polish plug that I just have an adapter always stuck into. And yeah. I think, as much as I prefer vintage sewing machines, I do like the way this looks. We have this cover to lift up here. Over here is where we put the thread, and you can also put thread on the bobbin here. This is all fine. This is all regular machine, and as you can see, it has a bunch of numbers and a bunch of different patterns that it can do. So if I turn it on, then I could put in these numbers to do these different types of sewing. So including a bunch of decorative stitches such as flowers, stars, hearts, a lot of things, and I think that's pretty cool. And then over here we have speed dials for slower and faster, information deck, and then this is for moving the needle up and down, and this makes the thread either go wider or narrower, and this makes smaller stitches or larger stitches. So yeah, I think it's quite pretty. I think I got it from this website rather than from the original Singer website, just because that was the easiest way to get it at the time. Over here is my bobbin. It pops up from the top. I just drop it in here, which is interesting because most of the other modern ones I've used, not the vintage ones, but most of the other modern ones I've used had the bobbin at the front. And I don't know if that's just my experience or if that's more common nowadays, but this is how this one works. There's some extra bits in here. Screwdriver, different legs, press a foot, press a feet. The only one I generally use outside of the regular one is the zip one, but I can't find it right now. There's also some extra needles in here. And this whole thing can be taken out, but I need to put down the phone I'm using as a microphone to do that. Okay, there we go. Yeah, which then gives me some space underneath if I ever want to put it underneath. So for example, if you're sewing a sleeve, it can sometimes be useful to just put it through here and then go around like that. But yeah, you can see lots of storage, and yeah, this is I really like this machine. But there is a part of me that regrets buying it simply because I don't like buying things new, and I don't know. But I guess I didn't have that sort of thinking at the time. And to be fair, my previous machine worked just fine. I just wanted a fancy one, I guess, because materialism, capitalism. But yeah, this is the first machine I'm going in depth on, just as a little review for myself. And I'm also using this video as an opportunity to clean all of my machines, because they've been on their shelves and cupboards for a while and I have not been dusting them. So hopefully I could get that done as well. I've also put some little decorations that I have up here. I don't think I've bought any of them myself, I just bought by friends and family, but yeah, got this mini machine that I thought is fun. There's this decoration which someone gave me, and this Lego machine that I got for my 20th birthday, I think it was the most recent one. Now, back to this machine. This is the first machine I ever bought, because my mum encouraged me to, and I wanted to sew, and turns out buying a 1939 machine as the first machine you buy to learn to sew is probably not the best idea. But here we are. It started an obsession. As you can see, it's got this, I'm assuming, faux alligator skin cover, skin case, and I think it's, I mean, I think it already, I have no real opinions about the case in particular, which I have opinions about most things, so that's interesting. And that's the cat knocking the camera over. Yes, Clacket. You've never seen these before, or you've never actually properly looked at them because they were all in their cupboard. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's clean up this box first a little bit. I think I just need to wipe up the dust. So just a paper towel should do. But yeah. Opening it. Yeah, so this one is, the front is not attached. I think it's supposed to be, but it was never attached while I had it, so not much I can do about that. Quacker, what you thinking? Is the sewing machine interesting? Oh dear. Anyway, this is a very well kept machine. So I would like to talk a little bit about the history of this machine, but I forgot to bring my notes here, so I'll be back. Oh, you're such a pretty. You've made such a nice shop. Yeah. You've created such a beautiful shot with you sitting in the picture. Do you have anything to say? No. But you are so pretty. No, go back. Anyway. So, this machine. Let's actually set up and I can talk about it. This is an extension to make it longer, so it's easier for the material. And this is the mat it's supposed to go on so it doesn't scratch things. I've scratched this desk to hell and back already, and my mum's probably going to be mad at me because it's her desk, but actually she doesn't use it, so who cares? As you can see, it's got an inside. Oh, okay, this got lost. I need to put this in here. It's got this inside. I think something's supposed to go in there, and I have an idea from this machine what's supposed to go in there, but I don't have that. This is also supposed to help hold things, but essentially I just kind of put in the machine so that it gets held down here, and then put in the extension at the side and put in the mat in the middle somewhere. This is the machine. I don't know how long I haven't been holding this because I pay attention to what I'm doing. The point is, I think what I haven't said is this gets attached here, and that's all. So that's an extension, so it's easier to use. Over here is the mat. Yeah, it's just for not scratching anything and to make sure nothing moves. And then this handle, when it's in its box, it's like this, and then at the bottom to store properly. But then you pull it up, and it gets locked in place by a pin here, and then you can turn it. Issue. this machine, when I got it, worked. It worked for a really long time after that. I haven't actually looked at it in a while, and now that I am, it looks like it doesn't work anymore. Yes, I'm sure you can help me solve this problem, Kakir. As you can see, I'm turning, but this isn't working. So I don't really know what went wrong. This is... If I move this, it can still move, and that's still moving, but it is a bit stiff. So what I'm probably going to do after this video is pour some oil in the holes. I do have an oil lamp for this, that I got at some point. But, yeah, I can't worry about that now. I'm just going to tell you more about this machine. So yeah, you could also open this. I tend to keep whatever I got with the machine just in the machine. So let's... Quacker! Why you knock over my camera? Are you Goliath? Are you Godzilla? You wanna leave? Unknown. The door's closed and I don't know if he wants to leave, and that's why he's complaining, but yeah. Here we have the lid for this. As you can see, it's got a little thing that turns so that if, when you open it, you do that, and then you can close it, just turning it, which is useful because obviously this machine is in a case that can move, so you want to make sure nothing falls out. And then and here actually is a similar thing where it's got this little thing, and you put it here so the machine can't move. But if you take it off, the machine actually opens up. So let's talk about some of the things I have in here that I've received with it, or I've also put some notes in some of these machines myself. So we have this. Honestly, this just feels like paper. I don't know why it's here, but it's here, and here it will say. I think it's sort of just lining to protect the inside of this machine. I'm actually gonna have a quick look here while I turn. Okay, well that's interesting because it turned here when I started it, but then it didn't turn once it started moving properly. And this feels well oiled, like it's sticky, slippery. I don't know what's going on. And at the same time, if I move this, then the bottom moves, and also this moves. So yeah, I'm just gonna try and oil it and hope that fixes it. And if not, I might have to take it to a machine repair shop. Or I'll probably have a look on YouTube to see if I can work out how to repair it myself, because I would like to know how to repair these machines. And I don't know how to learn that, quite frankly. Okay, but the other things that are in this box here. We have this piece of fabric, which someone stamped leaves into. I'm assuming it was Dorothy, because no one else really has had access to this machine apart from Dorothy and her family, and then me. Dorothy being the woman I bought this from. Then the other thing is this lovely piece of fabric with various different sewing patterns on it. So here's the thing, I don't know where this is from. This might have been a fabric that I found in here and then used my modern machine to do this on, but I don't think I did it because that would have been my current machine, and that's too recent. I would have remembered that. So I think someone else had a modern machine and then for some reason put the fabric in here. There's also this fabric, which I think is actually quite nice, but it feels old. I'm also tempted to try burning it to see what it is. So that might be a side note in this video if I decide to do that. And then this, carrying on, I've worked out what this is. This is my fabric. This is from when I went to a trip to Scotland to a place on a sustainability fashion trip, and we were learning to do various things, and one of them was machine sewing. So I was doing this, I did this, and then I only worked that out because there was this in here, which I definitely made, which they wanted us to embroider using waste materials. So like this is a net that you like sell fruits in, that would just get thrown away, but instead it's a rainbow. Yeah, you can out. You want out? Okay, so actually I'm going to move these because they have nothing to do with the machine. And now I'm wondering if this does, but I think it does. I very much do not remember doing that in Scotland. But maybe I did. This is why I need better memory. But this material is definitely from here. And I'm going to keep this as well. Then the other things in here are a pair of scissors that presumably came with the machine. They're scissors, I suppose. As well as no needles, but a packet from them. Needle machines. It does say 2020 on them, and they might be from 2020. But I just think it's neat, essentially. And then over here I have a note that I wrote for myself, which just says Model 99K 1939, which I know from my notes that I made recently. But let's talk more about the actual history of the machine and not just the machine itself. So this, like my note says, is a Model 99K from 1939. These models were first allotted on January 31st, so basically most of 1939 is when this machine could have come from. There were apparently 13,571 made of this machine, and they were made in the Kilbowie, maybe, Clydebank factory in Scotland, which operated from... So this has the same factory because I guess it's just the biggest one in the UK, and obviously I'm in the UK, so that's just where my machines come from. That's what I know from my research, which there will be notes in my... Well, there will be links in my description. I'm not 100% on this research, but I'm fairly certain that's all fine. So most of it comes from the Singer's Sewing Info website, which there is a directory where you can find sewing machines based on serial number, which is usually right up front here. And then also from LR Crafts, which seems to use the same information, mostly. I have found one discrepancy, which I'm not sure about. But yeah, which I'll get back to later, but most of these seem to use the same directory, and you can just look at the number and it'll tell you immediately rather than having to go through the directory. I just wanted to double check both. And like I said, I found one that I'm not sure about. So that's what's on with this machine. And then let's talk about its personal history, which is the machine I know the most about. Like I said, this machine came from a woman called Dorothy. She was my neighbor, and she was 97 when she died in 2020. I'd bought this machine off of her a couple weeks before she died. It's nice to have something to remember her by, although I think it makes more of a difference for my mum and my sister who knew her better. But yeah, she told me a bit about this machine. She said she was 14 when she bought it. So being 97 at the time of her death in 2020, that means she believed she bought it in 1937. That is not possible because, like I said, this machine was made in 1939, but I just have to assume that she got some numbers mixed up. Which makes sense. I mean, she was old, and quite frankly, I'm not sure if I'd be able to tell you if something happened when I was 14 or when I was 16 now, let alone when I'm, in like 76 years. So, yeah. So this machine, she had it all the way from 14, from when she bought it new in the shop, to a few weeks before she died, when she sold it to me for £50. And yeah, it just means, and it means a lot to me. It was the start of my obsession with sewing machines, and yeah, I guess thank you, Dorothy. But yeah, I'm sad it's not working right now, but I have to just assume it's the oil, and if not, there is a shop somewhere in my area apparently that fixes machines. So, I mean, this is in a fantastic state for how old it is, because it's only ever been used by one person who did use it throughout her entire life and then she had it until 2020. So, yeah, like I said, it's a hand crank machine, and it's working now. I don't know what happened. Maybe it just needs to be jiggled a bit. It's actually a bit concerning, and I should probably oil it anyway, especially before I use it next time, which hopefully I will. I'm really bad at using all of my machines because there's too many of them, and I don't sew enough as it is. So yeah, that's this machine. And the fact that I've had it for 6 years already is crazy. Because I would like to point out, when I say 2020, I mean early 2020. Dorothy, I know Dorothy died before the pandemic, like before there was any shutdowns in the UK. So yeah, it was lockdowns, as in from the pandemic. So early 2020. Yeah, that's machine numero uno. And I'm moving on to the next one as soon as I pack this one back in its box. Actually, I'm not packing this one back in its box because I have a display case for all of my machines, and they don't live in their boxes in the machines in the display case because they're prettier that way. Only a couple live in their boxes, and that's just because I don't have enough space for everything. So yeah, that's machine number 1. Okay, let's move on to machines 2 and 3. This is not machines 2 or 3. They're actually not here. I will be including pictures and videos of them, but my machines 2 and 3 are actually at my dad's house in Poland. So let's just discuss them a bit, even if they're not here, because they're important but to me. And this is a video for me, like I said. So my machines 2 and 3, which I also forgot to say this earlier, but machine 1 had the serial code EB994855. Machines 2 and 3, as far as I can tell, because their codes are a bit destroyed, have the codes C1685683 and C1469883. And they are both treadle machines, so they have a table. But it's actually only like 1.5 machines because they only have one table between them, so it's not like they could both be used at once. Now, you can probably tell in the video that it is a bit destroyed, and so I had my uncle help me fix them up, and the machines themselves do work and would work if the table worked, and the legs of the table are fine. I've had to de-rust them and then repaint them. It's the top of the table that's the issue, and also the fact that I don't have a belt for the turning. So the top of the table is very much destroyed. There was a laminate on it that just started peeling off, so I need to basically sand all of that down and then either put on a new laminate or just paint it. And luckily most of the parts that actually need to, where the machine needs to go in, is fine, but they do, like I said, they do need a new belt because the one that I got, it was very much destroyed. And then they should work, but also I have not done this, and I've had these machines for 6 years. I've only done the legs and technically getting the machines to work, but the problem is that they're in Poland, and I'm not in Poland for long enough ever to actually sort this out. And I'm constantly finding new side quests in Poland, such as currently rebuilding all the Lego I had as a kid, and also learning to spin on a spinning machine. So, on a spinning wheel, that's the word. But let's talk about these machines anyway. The truth is, I have no idea what year they're from, or even what model they are, because the factory that was that they were made in was opened in either 1804, according to the LR Crafts website, which tells you about, which is the website where I got where you just put in the number and it tells you information about the machine, or 1908, which is what the Singer Sewing Machine website tells me, which I'm more likely to believe. So I'm going to say 1908 is when the factory was made. So they have to be newer than 1908. In Wittenberg in Germany. And the reason that there is not much information about these machines, like I don't know what year they're from, despite having their serial number, is because that part of Germany became East Germany after World War II. So the factory was taken apart after the Russian invasion in 1945, which means that the machines are from somewhere between 1908 and 1945. Machines apparently stopped being produced in 1940 due to the war, according to, again, LR Crafts, or 1945, according to the Singer Sewing Machine website, which I don't know, but a lot of sewing machines factories, from what I know, got converted into machine like tank and weapon building facilities during the war, so it is very possible they got stopped being a sewing machine factory in 1940. So I'm going under the guess that the machines were made between 1908 and 1940, but it could also be 1904 to 1945. The factory produced 15D, 6060, 201D, and 2060 domestic model machines. And trying to look into it a bit more, it looks like the C1685683 machine is a 15D with gingerbread or Tiffany decals as they're called. So those are like the decorations. And those seem to have been used between 1930 and 1900 and 1930, which implies that at least that machine is from pre-1930. And I found a similar machine to the other machine that I was talking about, the C1469883 from 1928 online. So my best guess is that they're both pre-1930. So I'm going to say somewhere between 1908 and 1930. Both probably being from the 20s. But it's hard to say, like I said. There's not enough information to actually make this a full... to talk about this properly. As for how I got my hands on them, when my dad was clear... The garage in my dad's house sort of became a dump for my family's stuff. And somehow my granddad got his hands on these two machines. And he just kind of left them in the garage. And when my dad decided to clear out the garage, he essentially told my entire family, come grab your stuff. Anything you don't grab, I'm chucking. And my granddad didn't want these machines anymore. I don't know why he had them in the first place. And he told me that I can have them. And since I was interested in machines at the time, I took them both. He told me that he got them from a man who didn't know much about them either, because they were from that man's grandmother. So that's all I know about them. I can't really get any information about them otherwise, as far as I know. So those are those two machines. Now we're moving on to machine number 4, which is here. Machine number 4 is very dusty. This has the same type of case as my first machine, which is unsurprising because they're both from the same year, 1939. But this one's darker for some reason. And I don't know if that one was just bleached in the sun, or if they were or if someone recoated them at some point, one of them at some point. But yeah, this one's in a bit of a worse condition because it wasn't, shockingly, it wasn't a direct transition, as far as I know, from the owner who used it constantly to me. From the first owner who used it constantly to me. So yeah, this is my next machine. So I had to leave for a bit. As you can see, I'm wearing my jacket now. And yeah, just wanted to address that. But also, this is fresh mint tea, as in it's literally just fresh mint leaves ripped directly from the plant in boiling water, and it is delicious. And as someone who didn't even drink tea half a year ago, I think I've been missing out on so much, but I also didn't like tea before then, so I guess I wasn't missing out as much as my taste buds have changed. But yeah, this is great. So, 1939 machine, as I said. I've already talked about the case. Like with the other case, I don't really have many feelings on it. It's just meh. This one also comes off, and as you can see, it looks very similar. It's also got a table. Let me pull this out. So, in this machine, let me move my tea. We attach this at the end. Now I'm going to wipe it down a bit, because this one is very dusty, because this one doesn't live in the case. It lives on my dresser. So, more dust has access to it. As you can clearly tell, I'm very good at looking after my possessions. I'm going to hoover this room later. So you can see this part works. I don't actually remember if the machine itself works because this machine has a motor here at the back. I think it does, last I checked, because I swear I remember the light turning on here. So it has this very fun plug. Only time I've ever seen anything like this plug. It goes stuck in the back here. And then we plug this in here. As we can see, it works. Great success. Quite frankly, there is something vaguely terrifying about turning on a machine from 1938, but here we are. Does the light work? Yes. You can see the light works. This moves a bit, but there is an on-off, and that's fine. This all works. And I should probably make a dress on this soon. Yeah. So I'm quite happy with this, since it's nice and it works. So yeah, like I said, it's also 1939, and it is a fairly early example, I would say, of the electric machine, because like I said in my last project video about the history of sewing machines, sewing machines could be electrified as early as I think even before the turn of the century, but they weren't really turn of the 20th century, but that wasn't common. It generally didn't become popular until after World War II, and this is 1939, so I think there were quite a few, but not as common as one might expect, but not as common as afterwards. And then, as for information specifically, the serial code on this one is EC562238. It is a model 99K. There were 50,000 made, starting in November. Starting in November 28th, which means that this was made somewhere probably in December of 1939, but could also have been the last few days of November. And it's the same factory as my first machine in Clydebank, Scotland. So yeah, it's a pretty good machine. It is also, it's kept up pretty well considering how old it is and the fact that it still works. Although what I'm not sure about is if this motor is actually original or not. It's added on here, and the thing is, you could buy a motor to add on, but sometimes they came with motors, and sometimes you could just buy a motor to add on, and I can't tell which this is because they were always external. It doesn't matter if it was bought with it, they were always external, so they were always here at the back. And I'm glad this belt at least is good, unlike my treadle machines in Poland. Yeah. Now, for things, I don't remember if there's anything in here. I think no. Also can't move this, which is not helpful. This is the one that's supposed to lock this part of the machine, but it is simply... Oh, there we go. That took way too much energy. Yeah, okay, there is a bunch of things in here. In the body, and a couple of things in the body. Cool. So, we have various weird and wonderful press foots that I have no idea what they're used for, quite frankly. I should probably learn, but yeah, I don't know what they're used for. There is also a belt, which I might... There's actually also there's a spare belt, and there's also another belt, and I might actually keep the belt out, one of them, because I forgot this was in here, and I have a machine that I think is missing a belt, electric machine that I think is missing a belt, so that's helpful, and if not, I'll just put it back later, but I think I'll keep one of the belts out. I should probably learn what all these press feet are for. I'm hoping one of them is for a zip. It probably is, but I don't actually know when press feet were invented, when zippers were invented. So maybe they weren't common enough yet, but I feel like they would have been in 1939. But I don't know enough about the history of clothes fastening for that. There's also this box that this one came with. And I think this is what I was talking about this there being a hook in the other box. This is just for this, I think, because it just fits there perfectly. Even if I had it packed wrong earlier. But let's see what's inside, because I genuinely don't remember. Right. There is a screwdriver, which I think I put in here myself. This looks familiar. A couple of screws, a couple of sewing needles, and some ink. I think this screwdriver came with the machine when I bought it. And I think this ink is also from the machine. So I just kind of keep this stuff together. So, yeah. And then, what I find most interesting is the stuff inside of here. So we have a newspaper. Unfortunately, it's not actually that old. I mean, it is old, but not as old, nearly as old as the machine. It's from autumn 2000. So, 26 years old. Old, but, okay, 25 and a half. Old, but not incredibly so. And I guess the person who had this before me, or maybe even before them, was just using this as a liner to keep everything in there safe. Which is fair. Just like the fabric in the other machine. And then over here is the thing I'm actually interested in. This is instructions for a Model 99K sewing machine. And yeah, I think it's very interesting. So this book should be carefully preserved for reference, is what it says. Which yeah, it was, I suppose. I mean, it's been 77 years? Wow, that is a long time. I mean, that's like a lifetime. This, yeah. Yeah. And then it also refers to the fact that you should look for the red S of Singer if you need oil or repairs or anything, because there's one in every city. I don't think that's true anymore, but I mean, it's fascinating that apparently it was supposedly. Oh, but even back then, it tells you to only apply only to Singer shop or Singer salesman. Otherwise, you will risk it being irretrievably damaged, which is interesting to me because it sort of reminds me of Apple's policies of like general phone company policies, but specifically Apple, that you need to go back to them because any other fixer might break it more. Apparently, you need a specific oil and needles from the shops too. It says needles in containers marked for Singer machines are not Singer-made machines. So you're supposed to avoid them, apparently. I bet nobody listens to that. So it immediately talks about the motor. Have you seen the Singer motor? One screw attaches it to your machine. Cut out all the fatigue. Both hands free to guide work. Make sewing a pleasure. Better work done in half the time. And then, after dark, there is Singer Light, which, by showing the stitching more clearly, prevents eye strain and saves time and annoyance when threading the needle. Singer Light, apparently. It does then talk about the handle, which makes me think that this machine was retrofitted, because this isn't just talking about the motor just because it is an ad. It says any Singer shop or Singer salesman will tell you about them, as in the motor. So, and then it talks about the handle. It talks about the fact that I've shown you in the other machines where you have to pull the handle. You have to put a pin out, and then talks a bit about setting the needle and threading the needle and the bobbin. Then it talks about attachments. There's one to be used for binding, as in binding the edges, one for quilting, one for hemming, one for felling, an adjustable hammer, I'm not entirely sure what that means, one for ruffles, one for pleating, a tuck marker, yeah, then it talks about various sizes of needles and what they're used for. Anyway, I think it's interesting that this book has been kept up so well. There are a couple that I've found, but not every machine I've got has them, definitely. That's definitely true. The other thing I forgot to mention in the previous machine, in the first machine as well, so I'm just going to mention it here because it's the same here. If you look here, it's got, to get to the bobbin, it's got a little, you just pull out this tab, and then you can press on this and it'll push out the bobbin if there is one. There isn't one right now. And it's on the top. It's sort of like my modern one, which I did talk about a bit. How I think most modern ones are at the front nowadays rather than on the place where you put the fabric. So yeah, this works, which is surprising to me because generally speaking, I think that these types of machines I think the electricals tend to break faster than the mechanics. So it's good that this still works. It might even work better than the one I have from Dorothy. Which is interesting because this one I don't imagine was as well kept. I mean, it's in worse state. There was rust. Some things there's more things smudged off, but yeah, it's all good. And where I got this one from is the car boot sale, I think. Most of these are probably from the car boot sale. Problem is I don't entirely remember because I've been buying them for 6 years and I never labelled when I bought which one, and I should have done it, but I haven't. Which is why I'm talking about it now. I think this was the second one. I think this was the first one I actually bought myself. But that was not just for collecting, rather than the one I bought, the first one I bought, which was for sewing, and then the next two I got free. So yeah, time to pack this one in. And my cat is screaming at the door that he wants to be in here. So. Wisham, you're alright. Okay. Well, are you gonna knock over the phone again? Yep, of course. You knocked it over onto yourself. Well done. I believe this machine is next, and I believe this is the case, as in this machine is the one I got next, and I believe this is the case I got, that this is for. But I'll be honest, I'm not 100% certain. A couple of the machines don't have cases, and like you can see that one. But this box doesn't fit. This box doesn't fit for the holes it has for the box. So I do think it's this one, but I'm struggling to get it to fit. To actually get it to put in. That might just be a me problem. But yeah, this is the next one that I think I bought. Like I said, I'm not 100% certain. Let's talk about the box first. Obviously, it's a massive departure from what we've seen in the other ones. Although it is very similar. Oh, actually, I didn't talk about the box, about my machines that are in Poland. But it's very similar to the machines that I have in Poland. Apart from that box doesn't have the Singer logo or a handle. But obviously, it doesn't need a handle because it's just to cover on the table. So, yeah, it's similar to that one in the shape. But it's better kept up because that one has a hole in it. Those ones in general need help, but yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to do anything about that one in particular because I'm worried if I touch it, it's just going to break more when it comes to that. And so it comes to the box over the top. But this one has Singer. It's a wooden box. It's just older because this is just the way it looked like before. These boxes looked like before. I mean, I think I prefer the look of the wooden ones. But I actually prefer to carry the suitcases for some reason, even though there isn't much of a difference in weight or anything like that. After all, these are all like, I don't even know, I think they're like 10 kilos or something. Ridiculous. I might be making that up. I should probably weigh them. Actually, yeah, side quest. Be right back. I'm gonna go to the bathroom to weigh a machine. I am not exaggerating. This machine weighs 11.2 kilos according to the bathroom scale. Only issues the bathroom scale is made for humans, which means that it expects you to be 170 centimeters tall. This machine is not 170 centimeters tall. So, could be wrong, but I'm just going to assume it's correct. The other reason I think that the case is for this one is because this is very well kept. This is very well kept up, and I'd be surprised if the person who sold it to me lost the box, considering how well it looks. And also the box is well kept up, so like they match. And the Singer logos match, because some of the older ones have different Singer logos. Slightly, but still. And then this is what I was talking about, the handle. This is how the handle normally is in the box. Because if it's like this, where it gets locked in place, by the way, there's a pin here. Okay, the pin doesn't work very well in this one. But there is a pin here. Yeah, see, that works a bit better. Then you need to pull the pin, and then you can bend it down. But the point is, if you have it like this, it goes over the edge of this, which then means it won't fit in the box. But yeah, this one also works, as you can see. I try to only get machines that work, but sometimes I find a good deal, or I find a machine for free, and the need for the machine takes over the need for a working machine. This is Y5631974, and it is, as you can see, it's a hand crank. Here's where the discrepancy comes in. So, essentially, I was trying to work out what machine this is, and the database that just, you have to look it up yourself, said that it is a Model 15K machine made in 1922. One of 250,000 made, and it was allotted in May, on May 30th, so essentially could be made any month after that in 1922. However, the one where you look up the number disagreed. That depository disagreed. That one claimed instead of it being a 15K, it's a model 19K, one of 200,000 made, and that it was allotted in November 25th, 1927, which means that it would have been made at the end of November or December 1927. But both agree that it was made in the Scotland factory that I was talking about earlier. I'm not sure why this discrepancy is. This is the only machine where this happens in my research. So I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to assume that it's the 27, just because it's really well kept up, and it's also really similar to my 39 machines. But genuinely don't know what happened there. I believe I also got this one at Carbo Sale, but I'll probably be saying that about most of them from now on, so grain of salt. Like, maybe they're from a Facebook Marketplace or something. Let's talk about what's in here. Nothing in the big box, but there are quite a few things in the small box, which I probably should have checked before saying all of what I just said, because this one actually gives me the answer. So I'll talk about that in a sec. There's a pair of scissors, fairly modern scissors. There's some thread. Then there's a bunch of bobbins, which is good because you often need a bobbin that matches the machine, and yeah, hopefully these ones do. And then there's also a bunch of various presser foots. I don't know what this one's for. Yeah, this one I think is a zip presser foot, but it's a bit weird looking, so maybe not. Yeah, then there's a bunch of pins and stuff in here. So let's talk about this notebook that gives me the answers. It's a 99K. That means it was from 1927. So yeah, that's when it is. Let's see if there's anything interesting in here. Although I would like to say that this is in black and white, which the one from 39 isn't. So I don't know. I just think that's interesting. This one also has an ad about the electric motor at the front, which is much earlier than what I've seen for when most people had one, when it was more common than hand crank. Yeah, essentially almost the same ad, but this one clearly doesn't have it, so maybe the other one also didn't have it originally. Then it talks about the handle, just like the other one. Oh, it talks a bit about the inner workings, which is fun. Yeah, there's an interesting diagram there. But yeah, it's very similar to the previous one where it just talks about bobbins and threading the needle. There's also this bit, which I think just fell out. I think it's part of this. And then it's got various heads for the same sort of things. Hemming, felling, quilting. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything different here. Yeah. So, 99K. Mystery solved, I guess. I didn't really look into the machines while I was researching, so I'm going to keep this in the video just for my own curiosity's sake, that for some reason LR Crafts is wrong. Maybe I should measure them. I might. Anyway. Hi. So the camera cut out after this part because it ran out, because the phone I was using as a camera ran out of storage. So I will be listening to what I said, because I still had the audio recording from my other phone, and trying to recreate it with what I'm showing you here, but instead of in the same exact shot, just pointing the camera towards the sewing machines. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, that's why this is happening, why it suddenly changes. This next one is interesting. I know very little about it. Next machine. So, I can tell you that this one was definitely bought at car boot sale, and that my dad bought it for me. And I can tell you that with 100% certainty, because I remember thinking that I wouldn't have bought it myself because it's too modern for me. Which, yeah. I mean, I've got one modern one to actually sew with, and then everything else. If it's newer than the 50s, what's the point? No, I don't actually know which year this is from, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But as you can see, it's a sort of briefcase design again, but it's a different briefcase design. And I do really like the way it looks. I think I was less into the 50s look when I was, like, the 50s, you know, 50s, 60s, 70s maybe, hard to say. Look, when I was younger, and when I thought that, but also I probably still wouldn't buy it again for the same reason. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice leather, probably, suitcase. Not much to say about it, really. And then over here is the machine. So, here's the issue with this machine. It doesn't have a serial number. It says made in Great Britain. I'm going to assume that means it was made in the same factory as the others, in Scotland. It's also got an RAF decal design. It's also got legs. None of the others had legs. I think it's missing one, though. It is a 15K. It says it right there. It doesn't have a serial number. Okay, no, this does have a belt. It just doesn't have the actual motor. For some reason I thought it was missing the belt. But no, it's missing the actual motor. I could take the motor from the other one and attach it to this one, and that would work, probably. Could also maybe get a hand crank off the other one and attach it to this one. But the motor would be easier because there's just a single screw here. You unscrew it from the other one, you put it on here. And I might do that eventually, just to, you know, actually use this thing. Because clearly, I mean, it does seem to work. But weird thing about it is, yeah, the weird thing about this one is that this is on the side. Generally speaking, in most machines I've seen, this is on the front, even on modern ones. So I don't know why that is, but yeah. And it is pretty. It's just modern, according to me. Yeah, nothing inside. Oh yeah, also it's got this as a table. It folds out instead of needing to be put in. And then, is there anything in here? Nope. Nothing in here either. Yeah, not much to say really, because I don't know anything about this machine, other than it's 15K, and it was probably made in Scotland, in Clydebank, and that the motor's missing, for whatever reason. And I need to attach a motor to it if I want one. I wonder if I can find just a motor. I mean, maybe I can find just a motor on eBay or something. If it's not ridiculously expensive. If it is, then I've got the other one. I can just switch them out if I want to use one or the other. This is also why this is, because I somehow never realised that it's the motor that the motor is missing. Or, well, I think I did. I just kind of forgot. But yeah, this makes me actually think about my machines more, just talking about them. All well and good collecting for collecting's sake, but it's better to do something with them. This is actually the only one of my machines that actually lives in its case. I don't have enough space for all of them, and like I said, this is the one I care the least about because it's the newest outside of my actual modern one. It also might be the heaviest. It just feels heavier than the others, but that might also be because I put it on top of the wardrobe, the closet, on top of the display shelf thing I have for them, and then that means it has to go up, and that's hard. Next is this guy. As we can see, another wooden case. This one's a bit more squarish. Still quite, it's actually, I think I would argue, more decorative with these wave thingies compared to the other one, which was just rounded. But yeah, this is a bit of a worst case. You can see there's some laminate missing here on the edges. But it's still holding up decently well. Again, I want to say I got this from Car Boot Sale, but it could have come from Facebook Marketplace, because there was one that I bought at Facebook Marketplace and it feels like it might have been around this time, around this machine. This is machine serial number V437290. And yeah, it's once again one of these, although this one doesn't have a pin. I don't know if it's missing or if it's just never had one. As you can see, functions. And you can see the Singer logo is different as well. And it's also got this. This is a spool. This is a bobbin filler, I suppose. I don't know what the actual term is, but most modern machines have this where you can fill up a bobbin, and I think all of my other ones do as well. The only reason this is different on this one is because the bobbin is different. On the other ones, you saw the bobbin was fairly similar to a modern bobbin. This one, if I can actually get it out, it's a bit stiff. Has a shuttle bobbin. Now, the issue I have with the shuttle bobbin is that if I get it out, I sometimes can't get it back in. But this is what a shuttle bobbin looks like. Well, this is the bobbin case, I suppose. This is what the actual bobbin looks like. Long and thin. Yeah, I think it's very interesting that they looked like this. I believe the modern bobbin, or the bobbin after this one at least, there might be some slight changes that technically make it a different bobbin, the one that the old machines have compared to modern ones. But the modern bobbin, I believe, was invented by the Singer company in about, I want to say either 1898 or 1914. But if you want to know that, definitely go back to my previous video, I suppose. Yeah, so this one is here just because it's always been here. And I'll be honest, I don't know how to use this machine because I don't know how to use this. How do I put it up? And I should probably learn. And I think I did try and learn at one point, but I just haven't looked at it again in a while, and I will try to use these machines. They deserve to be used. They're beautiful and still working, and they deserve to be used. And that is my opinion. But yeah, I do have trouble putting the tops back on. They just don't want to slide in properly ever afterwards. They prefer to be on top rather than in. That's fine. Let's see if there's anything in here. Oh right, also this is here. Also this thread is here just because it's what I got it with it, and I simply keep them there until I use them. Nothing inside, but I would like to point out that the base inside is metal as opposed to the previous ones where it's just all wood. And then as for here, we have some spun polyester, which means I believe that means it's not as old as the machine, because I don't think polyester was invented yet. It's also got this fabric with some pins in it, which again, not that old as far as I'm concerned. And also you can see the boxes here, they just kind of, the lids just kind of slide in, instead of having any sort of lock or just anything else, it just slides in. And as for the actual machine, as to when it was made and where, it is a model 28K. There were 250,000 made. Once again, Clydebank. Is it Clydebank? Is it Clydebank? Clydebank, yep. In Scotland. And it was made in 1908. This was the oldest in my collection for a while. I was quite proud of it. And I am still, but I've got older ones now. What can I say? I have a bit of I feel like I have brainworms just about getting the oldest thing I can, really. So, that's that one. Okay. Last machine of the first batch of what I could fit on the desk. This one does not have a box because it didn't come with one. It's also missing the lid of this bit. Once again, it does work. And interestingly enough, I forgot what it says. It says here, patented 1888. Patented does not mean made. It very doesn't much does not mean made. The serial number, first time not starting with a number, sorry, a letter. This is the first time it doesn't start with a letter. The first time it actually starts with a number, says, which means it's pre-1900, says 150455575. And that means it was made in 1898. So 12 years after it was patented. I don't know about the corkscrew. The corkscrew came with it, so it stays with it. I think I just like keeping the history of the previous owners a bit. I mean, I'm sure I'll get rid of it eventually, but like, for now. Yeah, it's very similar to the previous one, which was 10 years younger. As you can see, it's got same spool thing, bobbin thing, same decals. But yeah, it's got that stamped in, and it's also the same bobbin, which I'm not going to pull out at this point because I'll struggle putting the plates back in. But yeah, I don't think there's anything inside, but let's check. Nope. But once again, this has a metal plate rather than a wooden one. And I think that's just how it was before. But, I mean, that's part of why these machines are so solid, isn't it? They're just all metal with some wood. I don't know where the lid went. My best guess is that the lid was put somewhere else in the house, or this machine was, used fairly frequently. And then it just sort of got lost or destroyed, and they just sold it without it. But yeah, that's this machine. The next machine is not a Singer machine. It is Vickers, as you can see here on the front. Now, interestingly, it has a key to open, which I think is kind of fun. No one's stealing my machine. They won't be able to have access to it. No, you just need to break the box, which wouldn't be that hard, but I'm struggling to open it right now. Okay, there we go. So, I do like the box. It is fairly nice and neat, although it is a little bit falling apart at the edges, and I do like the fact that there's a key. I like keys. Yeah. Now, once again, it's got one of these folding handles, although this one might actually fit in the box without it bending in, but oh well. I don't think it does, but it looks like it could. It is very well kept up, as you can see, and it says Vickers British Made Model Deluxe. It has the old style of bobbin, and the handle is actually thinner. Like, the actual holding bit is actually thinner and smaller than the Singer's ones, which I think is worse. It just doesn't feel as easy, but this does work really smoothly. So whoever had it before me did a great job looking after it. Yeah, and once again, like, I think this is the only one of two machines that has it on the side, on this side rather than on the front. And I think the other one was my newest one, so that's interesting that Vickers did that. And then also the other thing is, the hand crank is actually off-center, off of this wheel. I don't know what this wheel is called, but it's actually, but the Singer ones, they're all in line, but this one isn't. And I'm not entirely sure what the point of that is. I feel like it might be a little bit easier to grab because it's closer to the person, but it just looks neater when it's on the center, according to me. So, yeah. Let's see what I was able to get about it. It was made in Crayford in London, and I know that the factory operated between 1917 and 1939, but I can't tell you exactly when. Yeah, there's just not that sort of information on Vickers. Singer has good records, but Vickers doesn't. It does have some form of serial number, which is 77839. But it's on the back rather than the front, which is also slightly interesting to me that they did that. Once again, it's got a spool thing. I'm gonna guess it's earlier rather than later, just because of the shuttle. I mean, Singer's had a modern shuttle by like 1927. So this one, I'm guessing would be around the same time, but also it could be different just because it's not a Singer, and Singer did patent it, so, or did design it. I don't know if they patented it, they probably did. So maybe the others couldn't do it until a while later. But yeah, hard to say exactly. Now let's talk about some things in here. Funnily enough, there's a Singer sewing machine needles paper in here. Don't think this says anything about the year though. No, it just says made in Great Britain, but it's got the red S. It's got some weird fabric that might be getting moldy and I should probably do something with. Some thread. Pins. 2 extra old style bobbins with white thread, which is good to have extra, considering I don't know how I'd get more of those old style bobbins. I mean, I'm sure there's some way to, but yeah. But it feels harder. And we've got some modern universal sewing machine needles. Oh, and also another 2 bobbins, as well as a presser foot that I don't know what it's used for. Oh, this might actually be a zipper one, because this one has, you can sew really close, which is helpful for zippers. So that's good. Yeah, it works. It's pretty. Don't believe there's anything inside the main body. Yep, nothing in here. And the reason I struggle to open it is because for some reason you need to pull this pin out its entirety. I don't exactly see the point. Instead of having just like a little lever, like the Singer ones. They work perfectly well as far as I can tell. But yeah. There's that. There's also a second one, but this one's smaller and I can't see where it would go. Exactly. So, don't know what that one's about. Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if some of the weird design choices in this one aren't design choices at all, but just things that have to happen because of Singer's patents. But it's hard to say. I mean, most of the patents expired before the turn of the century. The turn of the 20th century, so those ones wouldn't be in effect. But maybe this one, maybe the handle being on center for some reason was something. Maybe this being on this side rather than this side was something. Or maybe it's an old design because of the fact, like, as in, maybe the Wickers bought a patent from a different design, from a different company that had one of them from before the patents were timed out. Hard to say. Yeah, like I said, I don't know much about this one, because there's just no way I can know much about it. Machine number 10. Over here. Another Singer machine. This box isn't quite as well kept up as some of the others. I mean, this is very faded. There's weird splotches everywhere. It's uneven, like it's edging out. And then over here, this has come out entirely because of how this has popped up. So, yeah, not as well kept as some of the others, but still decent. Still at least exists. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, design-wise, I like the box enough, but, like, it's nothing special. You know? It's fine. So, the machine itself, as you can see, the decals are very worn down, but it still functions. I mean, it's rusty in various places, but it's still fine, surprisingly. So, what do I know about this machine? This machine has the serial number 115-32554. It is from 1893, so it's very old. Like I said, the decals are mostly worn down, and there's not really much to say about it. I think I got it at Car Boot again, although I might have gotten it from actually, I think I got it from Facebook Marketplace. Basically, once I started just searching for older and older, they're probably mostly from Facebook Marketplace. Don't think there's anything inside. Nope. Nothing but metal plate again. And then there's actually no little compartment here, like with all the others. So that's interesting. Yeah, I've already said everything I can say about this machine and some of the other ones, really. But I think it's impressive that here it is, 133 years later and still functioning, still working. Yep. I mean, imagine if all appliances, I know this isn't appliance, but still, imagine if all things like this worked for that long. Imagine if you didn't have to buy a new washing machine every 5 to 10 years. They don't make things like they used to. It needs so much oil. I didn't realize that somehow. But yeah, it does really need oil. I will admit, I made a mistake while trying to find out about this machine, because I sort of rushed through this process and saw a serial number and just wrote it into the thing. This is not a Singer. That's not how this works. So I need to do some more research. But this actually says the Kensington. I think it just says the Kensington. And here's the thing. I have looked into this before. So I'm going to say what I remember, because there is a chance I will not be able to find what I was looking for again. Because it was a random... I was going through so many random pages. Ended up at a newspaper article. But essentially, from what I understand about this machine, is in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was a thing that would happen wherein a factory would just produce machines, and then at the end it would stamp names on it of various shops that would sell the machines. So the Kensington would be one of these. And I want to check if there's anything inside, because I feel like I wrote this down somewhere, but I can't find that information anywhere. So nope, the note is not in here. But yeah, essentially, so this would just be a company that would just have their name on this machine, even if they weren't really the producers of it. I would say they were just selling it. There was this one street in London that was specifically known for it, but I can't tell you what it was, because I don't remember. And I want to say that when I looked into this machine was probably from pre-1920, but that's about as much as I could say, because that was about when I could find evidence of this shop existing. But yeah, this is not a Singer. I got very much ahead of myself, but it is surprisingly well kept up, apart from this box not wanting to work. Just from the fact that, I mean, it works. It does really need oil, because, yeah, I haven't oiled these machines in a while, but, I mean, it moves. And it is pretty well kept up in, like, the paint job and stuff, other than this missing, which is frustrating, because that makes it so much more difficult to research, because that's where most of the information tends to be, like Singer Sewing Machine Company. So yeah, let me have a quick research. Hopefully I can find something. Or maybe I'll find the newspaper article again, but it was a struggle last time, so... but yeah, also the box is really pretty. Like, it's got these designs on top, these triangles, and no, wait, they're triangles. Maybe they're triangles. The point is this pattern on top, these diamonds, and it's just really nice looking, and also really well kept up from, like, even compared to the machine, this is better. Okay, so the AI overview agrees with me, but I don't like the AI overview. I do not believe the AI overview. I wish the AI overview did not exist, but somehow I can only find, when I'm looking at this, when I typed in what I typed in, I can only see it from the AI overview. Unfortunately, I cannot find the information. I'm gonna have to trust my memory. I think it was made somewhere between 1900 and 1930, and sold on a street in London where they had a lot of these types of shops, but I don't remember what it's called, which is the issue, because I think if I did, then I'd be fine, and I'd be able to work it out. Machine number 12, out of the old ones. There's also 13, which is the mod one I showed at the beginning. 14, of if you want to talk about machines I've owned, not machines I own, which is the one I was talking about earlier, about the John Lewis one. But there is also 2 more that I will be showing, but not here, because I don't think I'll be moving them from where they are. They're also covered in stuff, so hopefully I can unbury them enough so that I can show what I mean, what I'm talking about. As you can see, this one sort of works. Not very well. It doesn't have a handle. The base is entirely broken. And the truth is, it is just really old. It is a Singer. And the bobbin is once again even more different, because rather than going this way across, it goes that way across, and it's even thinner as far as I know, but the problem is it's sort of stuck. It's very much stuck. I need to deal with this. I need to cover it in anti-rust things and probably make an entirely new base, but I won't be doing that soon. I was going to do it soon, but I'm really not in the mood, really. It's spring and summer, and I just want to sit outside and draw and crochet and paint, and for some reason I don't want to woodwork. Not in the mood at the moment, so yeah. As we can see, I mean, this is all pretty alright, apart from the base being entirely broken, and it doesn't have a lid. This fell off. It might have just been sitting there. And the other thing is, this thing doesn't have a handle. I think it's missing, but yeah, it doesn't work very well. Yeah, it's just in need of a lot of TLC. But I got it because it was because the serial number is so old. I think this is a model 12K, one of 100,000 made, and I think it's from 1876. The issue is that there are two numbers, and one of them is 7 digits, and the other one is 5 digits. And I did see some reference to this about how the digits were in reference to how one of the digits was in reference to the overall thing, and the other one was in reference to the specific factory. So it might be that. But yeah, this guy needs some serious TLC, and I probably won't be able to give it for a little bit because I just want to draw and paint and crochet. I'm not in the woodworking brain space right now. But yeah, and I got this one actually not from Carbo Sale or Facebook Marketplace or a random find from somewhere else. Or as well, it is a random find from somewhere else, but not a random find from like in the garage or whatever. No, this is from a shop that just sells old things, which I suppose is a thrift shop. Problem is here that in England, most of these places are called secondhand shops. But I don't think this would be considered a secondhand shop, because to me a secondhand shop is a charity shop. So I suppose it's it's from a secondhand shop, but yeah. And then one of the ones that I can't actually take out from the garage is also a secondhand shop. Now the reason I can't take those two out of the garage is because they're both oh dear, this is wobbly. Is because they are both treadle, which means they are big. And they are heavy, and they are covered in stuff. Folds out and goes over there, but I can't do that here because there's no space, and I also can't move these out because there's nowhere, because it's just too much to do that right now. If we just lift this up, see, it's an electric machine, and yeah, this is the one that I thought it was. This is the one that is missing. It's got no wire. Not wire. Belt. But I've got this one that I got from my 1938 machine. 39 machine. Let's see if it will work. Plug this in to work out if this works, but I don't think it will, quite frankly. I think this is going to fall off. Now, I just wanted to show you this machine, but I'm going to talk more about how it actually works. About what it actually is history-wise in a minute. In a different clip, just because I hadn't actually done the research for these because I didn't have access to the number, because getting in here was the disaster. Essentially, this machine actually had a blanket on top of it, and then this machine was placed on top of it, because that's the only way we can store these at the moment. And ignore the cocoa melon. it does have a foot, which is what it's interesting because that means that it was converted into an electric. But I'm pretty sure the way it was converted, the foot, this pedal still controls it rather than that being a separate pedal, like there normally is. But this plug looks much newer than the other one. And I think it is, just simply from the fact that this says EE. EE, I believe, implies to me, like, it's not far off the other one, because the other ones are, like, EA and EB, the other 39 ones, 1939, which means that this one is probably 1940s. But, yeah. And then, it's also got a ruler here, which I think is interesting. And then it's got these two drawers. In this one, we have this weird press foot, a couple of hooks and stuff, and a bunch of other presser foots and parts of this machine. Yeah, so this is the 201K, as you can see. Most likely also made in Clydebank. Only thing I don't know, really, is the exact year. And then this one, we have this. So this is the booklet for the actual machine itself. Yeah, and it talks about essentially all of the same things that the other ones do, as far as I can tell. Meanwhile, this one is about the motor, because clearly this motor was attached later. With treadle control for family sewing machines. So I think that refers to the fact that it's this type of treadle rather than a regular treadle for an electric machine. If you're converting it from hand crank. So yeah, it just explains how to attach the motor and stuff like that, which is helpful if I decide to attach my other motor to the machine, the 15K that I don't know what year it's from, the 50s, probably 70s machine, 50s or 60s machine, then I can have that as a reference on how to do that. First one has the serial number EE92024234, and it is a 201K model. It is from 1948, which is later than I thought it would be, but not by much. I mean, I knew it'd be 1940s-ish. And it was made in December. It was allotted in December, on December 28th. So it's very end of 1948, and there were 50,000 made again in Clydebank in Scotland. And there's this one, which, as you can see, is also got on a presser foot. And I'm confused, actually. Give me a moment. Here's the thing. This is really weirdly set up. It sort of looks like someone took it apart and then put it back together, not properly. In the fact that that is facing that, like the foot name, Singer, is facing that way, when it should be facing towards whoever's sewing, which, meanwhile, this is facing this way, so it should also be facing towards whoever's sewing. So, did someone take the legs off this and then leave it? I don't know. As you can see, the box is fairly broken. But let's have a look at the machine. This machine has this type of foot, and as you can see, it's EA 600808, I think, and that's relevant because that means it's probably also 1939. I don't know why there's so many 1939 machines, but there are. And yeah, it's also got an attached motor, but for some reason the light is missing. I don't think I'd buy this type of machine, simply because I have no idea what's going on here. Like, why is this, why is there 2 feet? Like, this one only has the one, despite also being a treadle, it doesn't have an extra one. It's a bit broken, especially over there on the box. And yeah, there's no light. But the reason I have this one is because I found it on the street. So, found it while practicing driving before my driving test. And then there wasn't enough space in the car for everyone to get back home. So my mum started walking home while me and her boyfriend got this machine home and then went to pick her up. So, you know, the things I do for machines. Now, here's the thing. There isn't actually an electrical outlet in this room, which means I can't test the machines. So I'm going to go need to get an extension cable and try and test these. This one I've already tested, and it definitely does power on, but I haven't had the belt for it yet. So since I've got the one from the 1939 machine, maybe it'll move. Hopefully. This one also does not have a belt. And for some reason the string there blocking just the spinning. If I go this way it works. Okay, now it's blocked, but yeah. This does generally work alright. Not sure about any of this up here. But, oh yeah, someone must have taken the legs off and put it on the wrong way. Because this is in the wrong place compared to that. Well, I'll need to do that at some point, I guess. Yeah, actually, I was going to plan the next few of my project videos to be fixing these machines up. And the one upstairs that needs fixing up. But I'm not in the mood for that right now. I'll get there eventually, but right now, my next videos might be a little about drawing or sewing or crochet. And then the second one is slightly younger. Its serial number is EA600806. It is also a Model 201K, and it is from 1936, making it 12 years younger than 12 years older even than the second treadle machine. It was launched on May 12th, and there were 20,000 of those made. Alright, so as we can see, plugged in, the light works, and if I press down on the treadle foot, it does. That spins back there. Unfortunately, this doesn't, because this is very stiff, and I'm not sure if the belt doesn't need to actually be thicker, because if I put it in between this hoop and this hoop, it just kind of falls down back there. So that is not working. I don't know if I need a thicker one of these, and also maybe just oil and fix up this machine, because it doesn't, even if I turn this, it just doesn't work. Even if I push this down, it doesn't work, which on some of my other ones, if I just push this down, it makes it work, work a bit better. Now we move over onto here. Now, if I press down on the foot, you can hear that thing is turning. Yeah. So, let's see if I put this on here and here, if it'll work. My guess is on no, because that is not how it's supposed to look, I'm assuming. I'm assuming it should have one of these, but it doesn't. So, let's have a look at what happens. Okay, it immediately fell off, which is good start. Essentially, for some reason, I feel like there should be a notch here, but there isn't. So, for some reason, you just have to kind of just try and get it on in the right place and hope it doesn't fall off, because this should be tighter. There might be a way of moving this slightly, as in, like, I don't know, maybe... Okay, yep, I found it. I'm done. Maybe I can fix this. Maybe this machine, I can get that to work on as well. Let me just... I've successfully pressed this into the belt. Yeah, that's not spinning that, I'm assuming, because it doesn't have the piece on the end. So, let's go back to the first machine and see if I can use this thing to press it down, because I didn't realise that's how you did it. That had a thing you could press down to get it to work. I've done the same thing here, where I've pushed this into the belt. Let's see what happens now. Okay, it is slowly attempting to turn. My best guess is because this is just struggling to turn so much, it's just blocking everything. So, I don't want to break any more of this that is already broken, so I'm just going to leave it alone. And that's an exploration of these machines. Okay, so just before the end of the video, I wanted to show how I store everything, because there are a bunch of machines in not the biggest of spaces, so let me just show you what's going on. Over here is where most of my machines are. We have 6 machines in here, and then there's one, and then there's the broken one in there. And then up top we have 2 of the suitcases for the 1939 machines, as well as the suitcase for the 1927. And then that is the 50s to 60s machine, and the machine is in there. So that's the only machine that isn't out on display apart from the one that's broken and the other ones that are in the garage. And then over here we have these two machines which are out on display, and they're also used for storing my knickknacks. But yeah, and then above them we have all of the boxes. And so the reason that the machines aren't in their boxes is, one, so I can display them, and two, I don't trust this shelf. This shelf is an IKEA shelf, and I think it would snap under the weight of the 40 kilograms or so of 4 machines. So yeah, that's how I store them in here, and I'll go to the garage in a minute. This is why the garage machines are difficult. They are always covered in stuff. I mean, the other machine is literally just right under here. It's just covered by a blanket so it doesn't get scratched up. And then there's stuff everywhere. And then the second machine is right on top. So that's the video. Thank you for watching. Those are all the machines. Well, this is mostly for me, so I know about my machines, because keeping it all in here is hard. I don't have a memory, like, barely any. So, yeah, thank you for watching. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye!